Well, in this message, I want to give you some practical guidelines for you to know if your church is healthy or it's dying. You know, they say it takes 25 years for a church to die. And I don't want you to spend 25 years in a church that's dying and you don't know it. I want you to be in a healthy, thriving, growing, alive, challenging church that's spirit-filled in your life. I want you to spend your life there. So be careful that you're not in a church that's dying and you don't know it. The church is one of the great gifts of God. I mean, there's nothing more beautiful than the church when it's working right, but there's nothing more painful and agonizing and awful when it doesn't. And just because it's a church doesn't mean it's a healthy church. I mean, I wouldn't go to a heart surgeon who wasn't qualified and gifted to give me the kind of care that I needed. And that's why in this message, I want to give you some practical guidelines about a healthy church. Remember, we talk about theology, what we believe, what we preach, ecclesiology, how a church is governed, how it worships, and methodology, how a church goes about the business of doing its ministry. And I want to talk about methodology in this message, a methodology that is really the difference between life or death in a church. You know, it's important to have a yearly physical checkup. I go to the doctor once a year to get my physical checkup. And when I do, the doctor checks my pulse and my blood pressure and my temperature and my heart rate, looks in my eyes and ears and nose, assesses certain vital signs, a diagnostic looking or checking up to determine my general state of health. And we can do that with a church as well. There was a fella at Fuller Seminary in Pasadena, California. I went there to study church growth under a man by the name of Donald McGavran, actually his disciple, Peter Wagner, who had studied 300,000 Protestant churches around our country to determine what makes a healthy church, a thriving, growing, alive, exciting church, and one that's slowly dying. And in asking the questions about the church, they were ruthlessly pragmatic. What makes one church healthy and alive and another slowly dying that are almost virtually right next to each other? Are there certain vital signs of a spiritual checkup that we could take to see which churches are healthy and which ones are slowly dying? And that's what I want to share with you in this message. What's a sign, a vital sign? A healthy church has a pastor who is a gifted leader, who has the ability to lead the church. The right leadership always makes the difference, doesn't it? So the pastor of a healthy church has a primary gift of leadership. All organizations are a reflection of their leadership, and no organization can get past its leader. The pastor is the ceiling. The church can't get up above him. He's the primary inhibitor of growth or the primary builder of growth in the church, the primary catalyst. Everything starts with the right leader. The right leader makes the right things happen. The right leader knows the next steps, how to get there, what we should be doing next. And the right leader has answered the questions of the people that the people have of, do you love us? Do you really love us? And if you love us, can we trust you? And if we can trust you, can you lead us somewhere we can't get to ourselves? Do you know the next step? And that comes about by listening to the congregation, by being out in front of the congregation, but not too far ahead, because you cannot lead people where they don't want to go. So the right leader, the right pastor teaches and preaches and casts vision in a way that pulls the church forward. They say it takes 10 years to build a church, that a church grows from plateau to plateau to plateau. And in that process, when a church grows, it creates problems, and problems require solutions, and solutions require change. And change hopefully prayerfully brings about growth. But you have to be careful when you're solving those problems, because if you want to see people at their worst, change something. Just go ahead, change something. I remember in my first ministry, the pastor said to me, now, before you change anything around here, the people want to love you, know they can trust you, and then that maybe that you can lead them. So before that time, don't even touch or move the baptismal font. Build those relationships first so that you can lead people to somewhere where they want to get. So the right pastor is asking the question, who am I as a leader? What is my unique gift? What is my unique calling? The right leader builds on his unique strengths and style. What is best for this congregation that's within me that God has gifted me to do? Great leaders understand who they are and are not easily discouraged. The first sign of a healthy church, a pastor who has the ability to lead the people. There's a second ingredient of healthy churches. Healthy churches have a strong nucleus group at the core of their existence of the right people, proven leadership, long-term committed, seasoned veterans of leadership, people that have mileage and gravitas, are on the governing boards of these kinds of churches. They are the major policy decision makers, and they have ownership by service and contribution, not position. So pick your people carefully surrounding your pastor, that they are servant leaders with mileage, gravitas, spiritual history to them. Healthy churches have a clearly defined purpose, mission, and calling. What is your unique reason for existence? Why has God placed us here? I mean, there's many different things that we could be in the tapestry of God's kingdom and of his church. What is our unique calling? Healthy churches have answered the question, why do we exist, in single focus. I mean, they are just laser-like focus. They'll die on those hills of what our reason for existence is. And that requires advanced decision-making. If you had 2 baskets and 13 eggs, which basket would get the 7 eggs? Which one has the priority? That means that we concentrate on the few areas where superior performance will produce outstanding results. Yeah, we're focused because we know that all miscommunication is based on differing assumptions about who we are and what our purpose is. So healthy churches are ruthlessly focused on their particular calling or purpose. They're churches that don't get stuck in conflict or financial strains, or that are understaffed or under-resourced or faced with big decisions, or always asking, is this survivable? They know who they are and they know where they want to get, and they'll fight through anything to get there. They will be the keepers and the reiterators of the vision, because we know that people lose their vision every 24 hours. So keep focused, fight through all the difficult areas, take all the hills, know your unique purpose or calling. And healthy churches have a highly motivated staff. Staff, structure, schedule, a key to freedom in a church. The right person in the right staff position always makes the difference, whether it's a paid staff, part-time staff, or a volunteer. And if you're wondering who to hire first, go after the engine. In my viewpoint or vantage point, everything starts with worship, with the Sunday morning service. And that starts with music. Yeah, senior pastor, then music. Not senior pastor, associate pastor, senior pastor, music. Then kids ministry. You can't build a church without the right leadership, without the right music and worship, and with a strong kids program, a children's ministry. So look for competency, character, and chemistry in that kind of staff that will thrive on the leadership style and culture of the church. Recruit your team carefully. The best people are probably already gainfully employed or doing something else. We need to get them in the process of being a part of our church. The right process always makes the difference. You get the process right of finding people, attracting people, and you'll get everything right. You get the process wrong, the wrong process always causes things to go sideways. So find that right group of people that are going to help you lead your church, whether that's full-time, part-time, or volunteers. 5, a healthy church has adequate and attractive facilities. That's the engine of the church. The single most important decision you can make early on is your location. It will make or break you. Do you remember the old Presbyterian churches, the old First Pres at the corner of Elm and Maple in the downtown area of your city? They're long gone. They're gone because the people moved out. The community changed. Those churches that are now in the hearts of our inner city that were once thriving large churches are now inaccessible to kids or youth or parking. Their buildings reflect that they're no longer in the right community to attract the right kinds of community. So get yourself in the right place, the right location, and then spend a lot of time in making sure at whatever level your building is at that it is first class. Remember the old Head and Shoulders commercial? You don't get a second chance to make a first impression. I love to send people out into church, send them out a mile away from the church and start taking pictures on their cell phones until they get closer and closer to the church, parking lot, entrance of the church, what they see. I want to know what they see, because we've been in those churches so long, we don't really see what other people see. So go out and take pictures of your church and do it 10 minutes after the service starts. Enter into your church. Get that experience of a visitor, because a visitor is usually late because they don't really estimate how long it's going to take to get ready for church and show up and get in there and get settled. So go late, take a look at your church, put new eyes on your church. And in saying that, your building, your parking, where you're located defines a lot about who you are. It's the first thing a person sees. It tells your story. Your building tells the story of what's important to you, of what you value, of what really means something to you. That's why that building and its location determine who you will attract. Because we know that people most like to become Christians and be around people that are most like themselves, to think and look like them. Now, once we become Christians, we want to broaden our circle, but there's no question in the general public that people most likely want to be with people just like themselves. And question, what is the center of your community? What people group gets together more often than any other people grouping in your community? It's your school district. It's your kids. What does your high school look like? What's its culture? What's its temperament? What's its feel? What's its vibe? Pattern your church after that. Yeah, we can change the container. We're not going to mess with the content. But yeah, we can tweak that container to make people feel comfortable and welcome. And question, who's the most resistant person in the world to get into a church and to come to know Jesus and be a believer? Well, the studies tell us that it's the American male. I mean, you get the male in the family and you get everybody. You get the woman, the mother, you might get a divided family. You get the male, you get everybody. So develop your culture around reaching that American male that's in your local community, where God has planted and placed you. It's the side door by which people come in to a personal relationship with the Jesus Christ. Does your building, where you meet, whatever it looks like, does it reflect what you want it to reflect of the nature and character of God and of your local community? Well, I was going to try to do all of this in one message, but we're already far enough into this, halfway through it, that I want to stop here and take a pause, and I'm going to pick this up in part 2 of Is Your Church Healthy or Is It Dying? And I think you'll find the rest of these characteristics of these principles to be really vital to you in understanding how the church works and functions. And some of this stuff I don't think you will have heard before. This is important stuff. And if your church is dying, maybe you can get in there and you can change it and you can bring it back to health, you know. And if it's healthy, great. Maybe you can pass this on to somebody else. What we're doing is kingdom building. You know the story about when Jesus has been resurrected and spent his time here on earth and he got back up into heaven, and the angel said, "Man, that was phenomenal, Jesus, everything that you did. The miracles were unbelievable. We were watching you when you healed the paralytic. We couldn't believe that one, or the hemorrhaging woman, and all of your great teaching and preaching, and then you died on the cross, and you rose again, and then you gathered together your disciples and taught them about what the church was to be. Man, it was all fantastic stuff, but now you're up here with us, so now what?" And he said, "Well, I carefully trained 12 followers, my apostles, and they're going to take on my ministry, and that's going to grow and grow and grow and grow. They're going to teach, preach, minister just like I did." And the angel said, "Oh, no. You've left it up to 12 apostles, some of them Galileans, 30 old fishermen, uneducated Palestinian Jews? Oh, Jesus, what is plan B?" Jesus said, "Well, there is no plan B. There isn't. It's you and it's me. It's the Great Commission that he gave to you and me to go make disciples of all nations. That's why this is critical. That's why it's important. I want you to dive in. I want you to listen to the second message in this series. And they're important things. They're really important things about making your church healthy. Now, I want you to pray about health in the church, in your church, and health in the church in America today, just in our country, that there would be a revival, a restoration, that it would be set on fire with love for Jesus Christ and follow his model and his example. Set it on fire, Lord Jesus. May we be beacons, our local churches, lighthouses to our local community.